Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Welcome everybody in America and around the world. Yes, we're reaching out to everybody and lottie-dottie. We'd like to welcome you to our show. We try to provide information that people can use. And just want to make sure, remind you all, we are not financial advisors. We're not selling anything, but we are giving up information that we hope can actually help you learn how to build wealth and even get into creating generational wealth. We've been here. This is our 123rd show, though. We've been rolling, man. So thank God for the opportunity to be coming before you each day. Last week, we had our show and we talked about steps to financial independence. And that was one of my favorite shows, though, because financial independence is such a key term, man. And, financial independence and financial freedom usually go hand in hand. Financial independence, you're able to, pay all your bills and pay down your debt. And financial freedom is being able to do things when you want to, how you want to, and with who you want to.
So where you want to.
And don't leave that out. And where you want to. So that was one of my favorite shows. Although I have a lot of other favorite ones out of the 123. But this week, though, we want to talk about a subject. A lot of people will probably, think that this is, a common topic. Why you need a budget. Now, this is going to be interesting because a lot of people feel they know a budget and understand. But though, when we get into this, I want to really get, because so many people, say they understand the budget, but no, a lot of people don't really even follow the concepts of the process of budgeting. So we're going to talk about some of the things and why we believe you need the budget. But before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody, if you can please, click on the like button. That helps us tremendously reach more people. That's how the algorithms work with Facebook. And also click on the heart button. And then we try to make this interactive. And the way that we can make this interactive is through the comment box. So if you have any comments or anything we talking about, if you have questions about anything we're talking about, or if you have another topic you like for us to discuss or something on your mind, we can take a moment. If it's something very poignant that we can address, we'll address it right here and now. But if not, we definitely will get back to you at a later time. So please keep that in mind because like I said, we like to make this interactive, and the way we can do that is through the comment box. So please put comments in there. Plus, you all, that also helps with the algorithms for us to reach more people. That's how Facebook works. The more comments you put in there, the more people we reach. Don't ask me why it's that way, but that's the way it works. So, though, let me tell you, every week, people come to me after the show. And they say, Bob, why does every week Dope give us the depressing stock market information, but yet y'all keep telling us that we should stay steady in the stock market? Do you have any response to those people, for those people, though?
Because these are just some tough times right now. And things are going to get better. I mean, they have to. And this is when the people who make money stay calm, look for bargains, buy on the cheap, things that are down because the market's down, not necessarily because they're a bad investment, but they're down with the overall market. And as soon as things pick up, those stocks will probably do real well. So, and we've always said over the long haul, stocks have always done. They average around 9% over the long haul. We've talked before about how the market always rebounds very well after a slowdown. So it's just what you ought to do. But again, that's just Thomas's opinion. Everybody has to make their own decisions. I've done it, and made a bunch of money and just trying to pass it on to you guys. And that's how rich people got rich, most of them, either real estate or investment in the stock market. And investment in the stock market is easy to do. But this is going to be another week of bad news. And
And though I just want to just say this too, and I'm glad you addressed that, because and it's not for everybody. We'll tell you that if you don't have the risk tolerance for it or the patience, then maybe it's not for you. But most people, and the people don't understand this though, most people who became wealthy, it wasn't from inheritance. Most people think it's inheritance, but it's not. It came from people being in the stock market, and so I just wanted to share that, to give some people a rest, because people be putting stuff in people's heads though, you know, negative things about the market and about investing. And before we get into it, I just want to tell this quick story though. My friend just told me this story the other day, and it applies to this, okay? Especially the stock market with all this information out there and people just confused with so much of the white noise. This guy went and wanted to learn martial arts, and he knocked on the door of this ancient martial arts temple. And he opened the door, and the headmaster he said, "Sir, I want to learn all about, martial arts. I want to learn your custom. I'm willing to submit." And he said, "Until you deal with the white polar bear in the corner, don't come back here." And he shut the door. The kid walked around all day. Like, what the world is about talking about the white polar bear? In the corner, the white polar bear. He got home and said, "Dad, I knocked on the door. I really wanted to do this." He said, "Until I learn how to deal with the white polar bear in the corner, don't come back." And his dad said, "Son, what he's trying to tell you is people will put stuff in your head. You need to let it go and shake it." So I tell a lot of my friends, y'all need to leave that white polar bear in the corner alone. But go ahead, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Again, one of the things we always say is how rich people got money investing. The other thing is our topic tonight, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let me give a quick market update. And the market has been rolling negatively, and it's mostly because interest rates are still up. The 10-year Treasury, 10-year Treasuries are up to their highest level since 2007. They're almost at 5%. And again, they haven't been that high in 16 years. And so the stock was rattled by that, plus the fact that the Fed Reserve Chairman also gave a talk in New York, and he said inflation is still too high and that it may require lower economic growth in order to get it to slow down. And which in effect is saying he doesn't think interest rates are too high now. Because he did express, he said a little bit about, they got to be cautious because they don't want a crash. But he left open the door that interest might go up in the future. So everybody's kind of rattled by that. And you can see the results in the stock market. If you look at the Dow for the week, it's down a couple hundred points. NASDAQ takes a bigger hit, but more so because of the long-term interest rates going up. They're much more sensitive than the Dow. Microsoft has hung tough through all this. They stayed flat. Tesla took a big hit this week. That's because they announced earnings and they didn't beat earnings this quarter. And Elon Musk was crying about the interest rate, saying that has an effect on his sales. And they missed by sales, profit, and margins. And their margins are low because they keep lowering prices. So they're facing some difficult times right now. And it's funny how some of the big corporations use excuses to try to explain their shortcomings. A lot of the big boxes, Walmart and Target, some of those guys are using theft or shrinkage as the reason that their numbers aren't good. Well, Elon Musk is saying Tesla's numbers are good because interest rates are too high. Not sure that's the reason, but Tesla took a big hit. Again, and to me, this is another opportunity. I may acquire a few more shares of Tesla now. Apple took a little bit of hit. It's down 6 points. there's some thinking that it may have peaked out. But again, sales of the iPhone 15 are still strong, and they're still, you can't walk to a store and buy one. Pfizer is still struggling, and NVIDIA took another big hit, and it's down 48 points or 10%. And that's mainly because the government is putting some restrictions on chip sales to China. And so until that sorts out and the market can see how NVIDIA reacts to that, then that kind of whack took a hit. But it's still a buy on all the analysts' charts. Nobody lowered their expected targets. Their expected targets are still up in the 600s. So again, it's just, you kind of have to be tough in these times and not panic. If there was a fundamental flaw in the companies, then I would consider selling. But again, realize I bought it at 170. So the fact that it dropped to 421 doesn't really bother me too much, because I mean, it's still up. I'm still up 25 grand on that stock. So not worried, going to hang in, and I do expect it to see up in the 600s. So that's where we are. There's some more information coming out tomorrow we'll see how the market reacts to that. But it's going to be tough sledding for a while, and we'll see how we come through it. But don't panic and don't sell unless you have a stock that has a fundamental change in its numbers or future or something like that. Don't sell just because stock is going down.
Yeah, and I think Fridays is when they announced the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is a driver
Right.
of things, which was selling and all of that in America. So that's usually what they announce on Friday that drives a lot of things. But dope. If NVIDIA goes down 10% again, I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in. I'm telling you now.
And you say that, and you ought to jump in now. I'm telling you.
I know. But it's just one thing. Liquidity is very important when you're buying stocks. So, but and dope. I just want to tell you, all those naysayers and me and my gold is up. It's getting ready to go over $2,000, an ounce. I got it at approximately $1,000. I'm getting ready to double my money with gold, and silver is up too.
Nothing wrong with that.
But though gold was like struggling though, because even though when it's an inflationary commodity, right? Mm-hmm. But it was going down, and the reason why is because the dollar was still strong despite the inflationary highs, right?
Yep.
Which was unusual. But the dollar is now starting to reverse again. And by the way, you all, that was the reason why one of the reasons why cryptocurrency was created, to go against the value of the dollar, because it was declining. So with that, let's transition into cryptocurrency.
Let me say one more thing about that, Bob. But I think this conversation shows the value of having a diversified portfolio. And when we talk, you should have some money in the stock market, but having some money in precious metals is not a bad idea. Having money in real estate is not a bad idea. Anything you can do to spread your risk, diversify your portfolio, is typically a good thing. And yeah, you won't make as much as if that one particular segment of your portfolio went crazy. But during times like this, it's good to have something that is going up with everything else going down, and you don't want everything reacting to the stock market or everything reacting to the same bad news. You need to have something that reacts a little differently.
And that's what's called a balanced portfolio. And that's one of the concepts we talked about last week, was vertical investments, meaning if you keep getting vertical investments, staying in the same sector, it just gets deeper. The risk goes vertical. But the horizontal risk was, to get into those other things like we talked about, commodities, real estate, bonds, mortgage notes, all those different investments out there. It's just another way to spread around the risk. So if it's up, you make up. If the market's up, you make out. And if the market's down, you make out. And that's how the real winners work, though. They win on both sides. And that's just basically we always talk about having a diversified portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But though, the cryptocurrency market, man, check out the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is up $1,561 per Bitcoin. That's 6% increase. That's a 6% increase because a lot of people have been, poo-pooing cryptocurrency. And I get it because it's over 21, probably more than that now. And last time I checked was months ago was 21,000 cryptocurrencies. But I think 9,000 was actually active. But we deal with the top 10. That's why we just show you the top 10 because those are the ones that sort of been the stables and the ones that seem to be a little bit structured better. And then Ethereum is up 2%. Tether, which is pegged against the dollar, which is always so interesting. It is, I put it wrong. It is up 1%.
Yeah, current close 90. Yeah,
it's $1. It's $1. Yeah, sorry. Meant to add that. Sorry, folks. Forgive me for that. But it's $1, back to $1. And let me go back here. And then dope. We dropped Shiba Inu, which has been dropping like a bad habit, and we put Solana in. And look at Solana. Solana is up 17%, $3.56. Number 8 on the chart. I'm not saying get it. We just stating what the facts are on it to date. But remember, don't invest in anything that you can't afford the money to lose. And Dogecoin, Elon Musk, and that guy down there in the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, who was trying to stake and push the Dogecoin, just been holding steady, ain't been doing nothing ever since he went on Saturday Night Live and made a joke. It was at least one time, I think, over $1. So that's it for the cryptocurrency dope. And it's interesting. I mean, it's just following this cryptocurrency every week. People tell me it's so interesting just how volatile it is. But I know people that are making money, dope. And guess what, dope?
What's that?
I know people that were losing money.
I'm still up. I'm happy. I'm still positive.
I'm just below water, just a little bit below water myself. Mm-hmm. But so that's it on the cryptocurrency, right? So dope. Let's get into this topic. Why you need a budget? Because I always wonder, dope, why so many people struggle with doing a budget. Everybody knows the benefit of it, but why do people struggle so much with doing budgets or following budgets? I don't get it.
I don't think people struggle with it. I think it's something that a lot of people didn't grow up doing, and it seems odd or awkward, and it's just you don't, like I said, you don't grow up doing it. It's not part of what you do, and you get by doing what you're doing, especially when you first start off. But the problem is, as you make more money, and we've always talked about how much complicated things get, and it's one of the number one things that wealthy people do is they have a budget and a plan, and that's something. If you're going to be serious about building wealth, you need to have, and it's so fundamental as far as you think about how a company runs this business and how they keep track of their income, their expenses. Everybody always wants to see the income statement. And that's basically what a budget is for you. And it helps you prepare for things that might come up. If you want to save for a big ticket item, without going in debt or using the credit card, it's just so important. And we saw this article in Kiplinger again and said, we can't overemphasize the importance of it, and we'll get into some of the reasons why people don't do it. And so people look at it as another chore, and most people are just busy enough just getting by in life. But as you make more money, and again, as you start to get more serious about building wealth, you have to know where your money's going. You have to know what's coming in and what's coming out. And besides setting a budget, you gotta, it helps you set goals. Then you can measure if you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish, and it helps you get ready for those contingencies that are bound to come, because something always bad happens. And if you think about how companies run, they look at how much revenue they bring in, how much they pay in expenses, and the difference means they made money. And if there's a deficit, it means they lost money. And you can address that by either making more revenue or spending next money. And so the specifics of your budget is going to depend on your own little situation and what you're trying to accomplish. But steps for creating a budget is the same whether you're an individual person or a multi-gazillion corporation. The principles are the same.
Yeah. So, no, I just want to go over just 7 basic steps to budgeting. Right? There are basically 7 basic steps to budgeting. Number 1 is add up your total income. Now, this should include all your sources, such as paycheck, tips, Social Security, disability, alimony, or even investment income. That seems pretty simple. Number 2 is track your spending, but be sure, this is the key, be sure to include automatic payments, subscriptions, and utilities and things like that. Sometimes people forget to add in those things. Then number 3, set financial goals. Now, you must decide on realistic goals. That's the key, not just any goals, but realistic goals, and pick the most pressing goals, such as paying off debt or creating an emergency fund first, right? Number 4, calculate mandatory expenses. These are expenses you must pay each month, which you know is like rent, insurance premium, taxes, childcare, and even your cell phone. That is a mandatory expense nowadays, not a non-discretionary expense. Identify your debt payments. I mean, a lot of people, as simple as that says, a lot of people need to review, how much, like if you have debt out there, you have loans, you need to look at, what is the time frame of that loan? What is the time frame for paying it off? And how much you paying to pay it off? And if you can add anything extra to it, you need to look at identify your debt payments, because that's where you can really get some traction with your budget. 6, make a spending plan. Now, I know this sounds very obvious because that's what a budget is, right? Nothing but a spending plan, really. But give every dollar a job, right? Based on your goals and what you discovered when you track your spending. Now, there's a thing called zero-based budgeting. And that means you just earmark every dollar for some, even if it's surplus, you earmark it for savings or investing. It's called zero-based budgeting. And that's just another way to do it. Lastly, number 7, adjust each month. Now, reevaluate and adjust where you assign your discretionary discretionary spending, not the mandatory, not the not the non-discretionary, but your discretionary spending. Always look at that, because you need to adjust it accordingly. And we're going to talk about why, because you can have a static budget or you can have a flexible budget. But flexible budgets will help you avoid overspending. Okay, so let's get into some of the budgeting myths that people deal with.
Yeah, and the first one, Bob, is people think I don't need a budget. And they say, okay, I've gotten by with what I'm doing. Everything's going okay. Why the heck I need to take a time to build a budget? And the answer to that is, if you got a handle on your income and expenses, you can make sure your money usage is optimized. You can make sure if you have more money at the end than you have a surplus at the end, a budget can help you figure out where you can maximize your savings. Maybe you can put a little bit more money into investments. If your budget or your spending consumes most of your money, and you know, in that case, you're running a deficit, then you can use a budget to help you identify what expense you can use, you can reduce in order to lower your overall expenses. Try to get to that point where you have a surplus, so you can figure out how much more money you can put in investment. It's no different than what corporations do each month. They look at what they make, what they spent, whether they made a profit, had a loss, and identify expenses compared to what they budgeted. And if they spend over, you got to explain why did you spend over. If you spend under, you should explain why you spend under. But it makes sure you know exactly where all your money's going and it's being used efficiently.
Now, I don't know if you heard this one though, but I've heard this before. I'm not good at math. Now, thanks to budgeting software, and there's so many different budgeting softwares out there today, you don't have to be good at math. You simply have to be able to follow instructions. Now, many of these programs are free and legitimate. I mean, Nerd Wallet. There's so many out there. Just go in there and Google budget worksheets, and so many will come up, and they're free. Now, if you know how to use a spreadsheet software, you can make your own ledger. Simply, creating one column for your income and the other column for your expenses, and then keeping up with the running tab on the difference between the two. Very simple. So you don't have to be no math wizard.
Yeah, the next one is the overconfidence in your job. People think, oh, my job is secure. I'm going to have money. I don't have to worry about a budget. I'm okay money-wise. The money's going to keep coming in. And that's a total fallacy, because nobody's job is safe. If you've been reading the papers, all the big tech companies have been laying off, and these are companies that were considered some of the best companies to work for. Google, Facebook, they've all had layoffs. And so if you work for a smaller company, you're even more at risk, because if the owner could die or the product could become obsolete, there's a bunch of things that could happen. So you should always be prepared for job loss. You should always have 3 months of living expenses put away, just in case you do lose your job. And I'm not wishing that on anybody, but you got to realize it's a possibility, especially in these times. And if the Fed raise interest rates again, things are going to get a little worse. So that's not an excuse. The fact that your job is secure, nobody's job is secure.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. Another one though is unemployment insurance will tide me over. Unemployment compensation is not a sure thing. Let's say a bad situation at work leaves you with no choice but to quit your job. Now, unless you can prove constructive discharge, that is, you were virtually forced to resign, your departure will be considered voluntary, making you ineligible for unemployment insurance. Now, besides, the benefits may fall well short of the wages you need. For most states, they average between $300 to $500 per week. So, can't use that one. Unemployment insurance will tide me over.
Yeah, and another one, people think, oh, I don't want to deprive myself. I don't want to do without. And it has nothing to do with budgeting. You know, the two aren't related. So spending as little money as possible has nothing to do with the budget. It's a matter of you sitting down and figuring out what you want to spend. And if you do budget, you can look for ways to save money and do more of the things you want to do. Most importantly is save that, put some money away for yourself. We've always felt that if you got a job, the first person you pay at the end of each month should be yourself. And budgeting allows you to look at each expense, make sure what you're spending has that particular value to you. So you aren't spending on something that you don't need to spend on. And you can look at everything you spend and decide whether or not that's something you should be spending your money on. So tracking your expenses doesn't change the amount of money you have available to spend. It just tells you where your money is going.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like to look at the budget because they feel like they are deprived. They're depriving themselves, and that's why a lot of people don't want to look at a budget because they don't want to stop spending. Another reason that you need to have a budget is um, I don't want anything big. What does that mean? Now, if you don't have any major savings goals, like upsizing your living situation or starting your own business, it's hard to drum up motivation to stash away extra cash each month. However, your situation and attitude likely will change over time. There's things come up, all of a sudden you might want to go on a trip. Or let's say you and your partner live in New York City in a small one-bedroom apartment. And things are going fine for both of you until your family dynamic changes. For instance, you may have a child or an in law who comes to stay with you indefinitely, which means you'll probably need and want more room to accommodate the new addition. Now, if you don't save up for anything big, you may not be able to afford this change in your living situation or later on down the road. So be conscious of, you know, I don't want anything big. I don't need anything.
Yeah, another thing people use is I'm debt free, so I don't really need the budget. And if you are debt free, then you deserve kudos for that. That's a good feeling. But being debt free, if you don't have any savings, something happens, you'll be up the creek. So a zero balance can quickly become negative if you don't have a safety net. So you should budget to make sure your money's going where it needs to go and that you're putting money away in case things happen.
Number 8 reason why you may need a budget. Always get a raise or tax refund. Now, it's never a good idea to count on unpredictable sources of income. And this may be the year your company may not have enough money to give you a raise, or as much of a raise as you would like. The same is true about bonus money. Now, tax refunds are reliable, but this depends on part on how good you are at calculating your own tax liability. And I don't know if most people do actually calculate their own tax liability. But if you do, that's good. But if you don't, some people know how to figure how much they'll get in a refund or how much they will owe, as well as how to adjust this figure through changes in their payroll withholding throughout the year. Other people don't. But however, changes in the tax deductions, IRS regulations, or other life events can mean a nasty surprise on your tax return.
Yeah, and the next one, Bob, is probably hits 60% of the people out there. And that reason is I just don't have the discipline. I just can't do it. And that probably hits a lot of people. And sometimes it's because life just happens and they start a budget, then something crazy happens and it just blows the budget away, then they kind of forget about it. But by now, you should be convinced that you need a budget and how important it is. But if for some reason you feel you can't, at a minimum, set up an automatic savings, an automatic withdrawal from your checking account or from your paycheck directly to a separate checking account that you don't have access to. We talked before about some people who go to the extreme of getting their paycheck and putting their money in separate accounts. One account that they spend out of, one account that they save out of, and they typically don't touch their savings. So if you know you don't have discipline and you can put some money away and not touch it, you might have to put it in a different bank or have it come directly out of your paycheck. And make sure you do that right after you get paid. And if you're trying to save for retirement, try to put some money away separately. Again, don't keep you from getting your hands on it. And every time you get a raise, just pop that percent up 1%. You won't miss it. It's not like you're depriving yourself. you get a raise. If you get 4%, put 1 more percent in your 401k plan. And that way, you're always paying yourself first, and you have the money to put away for your future.
Hey, dope. At this time, I would like to ask our viewers to put in the comments what are some of the reasons why they think people don't budget or why people should budget. Put in the comment box, but most people, or tell them, let us know why you struggle with budgeting because something you do might help somebody else. So use the comment box for that, you all. Put in there some of the reasons why you think people just are reluctant to budget or don't stick with a budget. Or if you want to make it personal, let us know why you find it a struggle because you may help somebody else. So this is like a number 10 myth about budgeting. It's a luxury when barely I have enough for the essentials. I've heard that before. Sometimes budgeting just isn't a priority because may not have you may have too many other things on your plate. We know there's so much going on and you can have a full plate, but there are certain government programs that can help you manage your household expenses. For instance, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And I know all of y'all are going to say, wait a minute, you talking about SNAP? No, SNAP, yes, helps recipients of all income levels work with their food budgets to make their benefits go further. It's not just, assistance that they give this, like worksheets and things out there. The SNAP helps people at all income levels to be able to manage their food budgets. And I know a lot of us can benefit about that. So, and though I want to give a bonus one, right? This is my bonus why you need to budget. I've heard people say this one, man, I can get to keep it in my head. How many people I know, no, I got it in my head. And as human beings, we are forgetful. And as we get older, we get even more forgetful. The worst thing you can do is hold that stuff in your head and try to track it because, like I just said, there's a lot going on, you all. So don't try to just hold it in your head because I know a lot of people say stuff like I'm gonna save $200 a month, and then they save $200. Then the next month something comes up and they spend $100 that they wasn't planning on, they didn't budget for, and they go, well, I'm gonna make up it next month. I'm gonna add an extra $300 to the $200 that I was saving, and I'll make up for the deficit me spending $100. And they never do. They end up always chasing and getting all out of whack with their budget. But I just want to add that little bonus one though.
And Bob, just to summarize it, and these are all reasons people don't budget. And in an ideal situation, really focused on building wealth, you'd have a budget, your monthly budget, you'd have where you expect to be quarterly, you'd have your annual budget, you'd even have a budget 5 years down the road. That one would definitely be in pencil because things always change. And each month, you would scrutinize your expenses to see where you were over, where you were short, where you could do some cutting, or on the savings front where you could do some adding. Now, that would be the ideal situation. And if, again, that's tough to do if people are busy, their lives are going a mile a minute. But if you just say you can't do it, at a minimum, make sure you at least scrutinize all your expenses to make sure you aren't spending any more money than you need to on anything that you don't really need or don't really want. That's one of the things that budgeting does for you. And you need to do that periodically and make sure you have a situation where you are saving some money. And even if it's, okay, you go on vacation every year and you do. And so you have to take some money each paycheck and put some aside for a vacation. And again, if you don't want to go through the effort of budgeting, that won't take that long to do, to say, hey, I know I'm going on vacation next year, or I know I'm going to want to do this or that or the other next year. put some money away for it so you won't have to hit that credit card. And certain things come every year: Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays that you spend money on. And you know you're going to spend money on it, start putting money away for it so you don't get caught short. That's kind of the minimum you should be doing. And anything short of that, you're probably wasting money or not using your money effectively, which is going to keep you from building wealth. And you may say, okay, I do all right anyway. Yeah, but you could do better. And that's what we want to see. We want to see you do better, not just do all right, not just get by, but generate as much wealth as you can.
And though another one is, this catches a lot of people because it's the items that come in there that throws your whole budget off and gets people off, and they end up with more money, more month at the end of more month at the end of the money, right? Like people like these summer camps. Sometimes a summer camp come up that what you need to put away for it, you know, or if your kid all of a sudden end up wanting to be on a swim team, you know what I mean? You got to put that stuff down, put it in your budget so that you can be able to stay on course to your financial goals. Because it's those little things like that. And it's never the $500, the $1,000. It's the little amounts. It's the $20, the $50 that really add up on people. No.
And one more thing, Bob. And the other thing that scrutinizing your spending will do, it will help you not continually waste money on the same things. You get to the end of the month and you see you spent X amount on eating out. I mean, you can really ask yourself, do I really need to spend this much money eating out? And maybe you make a change. That's the good thing, budget, that if you have a budget and it doesn't change your behavior, then obviously it's not doing what it should do. But it makes you scrutinize your expenses and really think about, do I want to continue to spend money like I'm spending money? And hopefully you'll make a change and cut out the things that you don't really need to spend money on.
So Joanne Skinner said, some people don't budget because they want to keep up with the Joneses. That's a good one. Thank you. That is so true, Joanne. You know, that keeping up with the Joneses and the Smiths is it gets a lot of people, right? I know that's a good one. Just want to share this with you all right quick. Like in the I want to show you this chart that this chart sort of goes with our theme last week of financial independence, and this is just talking about budgeting and expense managing. So, in summary, what we're saying, why budgeting and expense managing is so important and leads to financial independence. It's all about creating a budget, tracking your income, your expenses, identifying the financial goals. That is so important, you all, because you can't. How can you get somewhere if you don't know where you're going? But first, a budget at least lets you know where you are. And then your goals is going to be where you want to get to. But if you haven't established where you are, where the budget is, how can you know how to get to where you're going? Because it may take a different route. And, you know, you need to allocate the resources accordingly. Reduce expenses. One of the things about retirement, people, especially people who did well with their assets, the more assets you have, studies shown that you tend to spend more and your expenses increases, and they definitely fluctuates in retirement. But people who are not retired, you need to reduce your expenses and make sure you identify your needs versus your wants. Cut discretionary spending where you can, and live within your means. Have your lifestyle adjustments. Live within your means. The last thing is the other thing that definitely helps. When you're short, when your expenses are becoming greater than your income. Increase your income, negotiate a salary increase, get a side hustle, and, work on some passive income streams, because that's the name of the game. The more income streams you have, the better you are. And you retirement people, there's 3 checks that you need: pension, your 401k or investments, and Social Security check. Those are 3 nice income streams that will help you get through this. So let's take it on home, my man. Summary and takeaways.
Okay, and the first one, what a budget does for you, it quantifies your situation. It lets you know where you are financially. It puts everything on paper in front of you, again, so you can make changes where they are necessary.
And it encourages discipline. I mean, without discipline, financial independence is a waste because you got to be disciplined. It encourages you to stay on track, to live within your means. And I mean, that word discipline really restricts a lot of people, but it's in everything. Like they say, without discipline, academic education is a waste.
Yeah, it definitely makes planning easier. You can kind of get a feel for what you want to spend money on, prepare for it, and it lays out exactly where you expect your money to go. So it definitely helps you plan.
And without a doubt, it prepares you for the unexpected because we do know there's always the unexpected. There always is the polar bear in the corner. No, I'm just kidding. Make sure you have your budget straight so you can be withstand any financial shocks that may affect your finances.
Yeah, and it definitely reduces anxieties. You can have confidence if you sit down and work on your budget. You can have confidence that you're prepared for what may happen because, as the last one said, preparing for the unexpected. The only thing we can be sure to tell you that everything you expect to happen is not going to happen. But if you got a budget and you're putting money away and you know you have a nest egg, you should be a little less anxious about where your financial situation is going because you have a plan for it.
Yes. So make sure, everybody, that it's just it's so important. 'Cause I see so many with debt, that albatross of debt around your neck is such a depressant. It is such a downer when you get in so much debt. So that's why it's so important that you make sure you just put your budgets down and prepare as much as you can. And we hope that you learned some nice tips today. Some of these you might have already known, but we just hopefully we reaffirming or confirming some of the things that you already knew. So,
And Bob, as we always say, it takes some time. I think back to my work career. We start working on our plan for the following year. I think start September. And we'd spend from September to December working on next year's plan. And we would never finish by December. We'd always spend early January also working on the plan. Now, we've talked about this numerous times. Building wealth takes time, effort, of course, money, but you have to take some time to do this. And it doesn't take a lot of time, but set some time away to analyze your spending, see what's coming in, what's coming out, what you're expecting, and figure out a way to prepare for it. Pretty straightforward.
Gloria said, superb information. A pilot cannot fly without a flight plan.
That's for sure.
And look, this is my sister. Let me tell you, though, this girl is the biggest budgeter. I saw her squeeze the penny so hard that Abraham Lincoln jumped out of the daggone Lincoln Memorial. Gloria, I've learned so much from her. That girl was, I mean, she's a budgeter. So, kudos, Gloria. Thank you for that. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We hope we once again shared some information that could be, fruitful for you. And remember, this is not just for you. Make sure y'all go out here and share. You can share Facebook Live. You also can share on YouTube. So provide as many people as you can with this, even if some of this information you knew, there might be somebody else that might need this information. So please feel free to share. Just want to say once again, we got our wonderful information and full disclaimer from Kiplinger. And you can go out there and check it out. They have some great information. So, like we always say, educating yourself is also about creating wealth. So, thank you. Next week will be 124, and we'll be, oh man, October the 26th. Though, where is the month going, man?
Where's our life going? It's going fast, my brother.
Very fast. So, like the guy said, the days are long, but the years are short. So, look, thank you everybody for staying tuned to make sure you stay on top of your finances and budget your information, and so that you too can live the life, stress-free and financially free. So, have a good one, and do me a favor. Leave that white polar bear alone in the corner. All right, y'all have a good one.